This is a deconstruction of the Digipak 4th by the Verve, which was released in 2008. The Verve are an English indie rock band who originally formed in 1989 in Wigan, but their first commercial success wasn't until they released their third album, Urban Hymns, in 1997, and their single Bittersweet Symphony, which also became a worldwide hit. On the front of the Digipak is an image, and I think it's a photograph of clouds in the sky, and this photo is continued throughout the Digipak inside and on the back as well. The image of clouds has a connotation of dreams and freedom, as the image itself is very peaceful with not a lot of distraction or much variation throughout. It's all a similar colour and there's nothing very bold or obvious. This could also be related to the connotations of some of the song titles in their albums, such as Numbness or Valiant Skies, which also give a suggestion of peaceful freedom. The colours and the bright yellow sun rays, which we can see in the sky, imply a sunrise and dawn and morning time, which could connote new beginnings, and could also be implying that the Verve may have wanted a fresh start with this album, and create a good impression to new listeners, because it was their first new material since Urban Hymns in 1997, so they would be appealing to a new audience as well as their old listeners from the 90s. We can also interpret this image in a biblical way, as the sky may suggest coming forth from heaven. This might be the meaning, or one of the meanings, of the album title Forth, which could also be a play on words in that the album is the band's fourth and final studio album. The idea of the album's biblical connotations is also supported by their song titles, such as Judas, which is their first song, which makes an intertextual reference to the Bible. The typography that's been used for the band name here is also an intertextual reference within the Verve's brand, as it's kind of in keeping with the typography that they've used on previous albums, and it's also been a logo that they've used for the band in adverts and on merchandise and things. They've used this same text to maintain their brand identity and to satisfy their fan base, as it's kind of familiar and recognisable to their fans, so the motif keeps continuity throughout the brand. The album typography, which has been used for the album name here, Forth, and also for the song list on the back of the Digipak, is done in very simple and more traditional font, which again links to the peaceful imagery that has been used through the whole album and the simplistic approach to the whole Digipak. It's not making a bold statement which could relate to the message of the album, and it's also quite typical of the indie genre to keep things quite simple and minimalistic. If I take the book out here, you can see that the cover is identical to the cover of the Digipak, and inside are photographs of each band member. The photos have been taken in black and white, keeping it minimalistic to go with the theme of the album, and although their facial expressions seem quite emotionless, the way the image of the cloud comes through them suggests that maybe kind of a hidden depth, and makes the album seem more meaningful and deep, and which is quite typical of the indie genre again, because that's kind of the impression they want to create. Next to each picture on the opposite side, they've quoted lyrics from songs from the album, and there's no explanation for this, but it could be lyrics that the band members relate to themselves or are personal to them. And the pages are on black backgrounds, and again are kept very simple. In the centre of the book are the names of the band members and also the dedications. And finally, if I take the CD out itself, you can see that it's also very minimalistic and plain. It's just black, but then it has the band name and the album name on it in the same typography as on the front page of the Digipak, and in colours that are in keeping with the rest of the album. The way they've used the yellow that keeps in with the sunshine.